Good morning. Welcome to I Love Shipple Wednesdays. I'm here with Uplift Greg, who was recently at the delightful Shitcoin conference. Tell us a little bit more about that. It was a bit hard to hear you last week.
Wow, you led right into it.
Well, of course.
All right, I'm sending this link to somebody from the YouTube stream. So give me just a quick second to
absolutely
work that out. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I went down last April for a larger crypto conference in Miami with, of course, at Corey's invitation, and I wasn't part of the official thing. Like, I didn't have a ticket, so I just went to the hotel and I got to hobnob with some people and have dinner with Corey, and that was all cool. So I had never been to any kind of a crypto conference, and it just so happens that our friend Ken Bozak, who's pretty much legendary in the wax space and in the NFT space. Ken Bozak was one of the people that put this together with some other local Miami crypto heads, and it was called Shitcoin Conference. And shitcoins are let's be frank. Shipple was literally created as a shitcoin. It was designed just to make sure that Corey knew how to make a coin happen. And that morphed into what's probably the first charitable use case shitcoin there ever was. And so these are the people that are in that space. There's some things that surprised me is I would estimate over the 2 days that I went to the venue and went to hear some of the speakers. I'll bet you only 25% of the people there even knew what wax was. Like, these are people that are right. I saw the eyebrows go up, and I had the same reaction because we live in the wax space. I thought lots of other people did, but it turns out people didn't even. And they were asking me questions like, "Well, what blockchain is it on?" Right? So it was a very basic, complete unawareness of the wax blockchain, and that surprised me. And I got to explain some stuff. And what happens when you do that, when you think of yourself as new to something, is you find out you know more than you thought you did. So that was a really fun thing. I got to talk to a lot of people about the Uplift because I was wearing my Uplift shirt. So a lot of property owners, who the 25% of attendees who were in the wax space knew about the Uplift, and I got to talk to some people that are landholders in the Uplift about how to develop and how to do galleries and things like that. So that was a lot of fun, and being recognized. Like, people knew that I was like the guy that turned on the server. There were people that knew that even though I'm not on the team, that I was formative to the thing. And I, of course, talked about all the work that we did before it was the Uplift, when we were building the infrastructure to carry the world. So that was a lot of fun. Like, I think there are people that think we bought our way in, and what we really did was sweat equitied our way in, because we spent hundreds of hours building rail systems and hubs and things like that. But as far as the Shipple thing goes, people were really enthusiastic about the idea of a charitable use case shitcoin, something they could invest in for micro pennies. And the more we build value in that, the more that will rise. So we create this really great ecosystem where the more we raise, the more good we can do. And the more we raise, the more valuable our holdings of Shipple get. And it's super cheap and easy to get yourself a couple of million Shipple. And if it ever goes to a penny, I'm going to be set for life. So that's the report from the conference was great. I got to meet Miss Teen Crypto. I got to meet Juan and Jose from Nefty. I got to meet, of course, I met and spent some time chatting with Ken Bozak and some other players. The Crypto Stash guy was there. And so it was really cool. It was like, these are people that are sort of famous in our little realm. And I got to spend some time with them. Russell can't hear me. Is that
Russell, I can't hear you.
Maybe you should plug your headphones in.
I saw you talking, but I couldn't hear your voice.
Same. So it's a Russell problem. But yeah, I spent 3 fabulous days at the Shitcoin Fest in Miami. I learned some things that were new to me in crypto, but make sense to me. Like, there's a massive local crypto scene in Miami. It's become a real hub for crypto endeavors. You see billboards, you see street art that represents different crypto projects, and it makes sense to me. Understand, I'm from South Florida, and it's the northern end of the entire Caribbean economy. All of the little island nations, a lot of South American and Latin American countries have economic stake in Miami, and it's a city where, I mean, it's infamous for its place in laundering all the cocaine cartel money in the 70s and 80s, but that means that bankers there are much more likely to be interested in small projects that go around big economies. So it makes perfect sense to me that Miami is a hub for crypto activity, and I'm really excited about going back down for other conferences. So it was great.
That's so exciting, and I really am very envious. I wanted to be there. It's a stupid COVID.
The street art scene in Miami, Jen, will blow your mind. The amount of buildings that are muralized, officially, like the specific district we're in, Wynwood, is called the Design District of Miami, and it used to be the Industrial Warehouse District. So what the city did is you could go to them with a plan for what to do to a 100-foot long wall, and they would approve the plan, and then you had carte blanche to paint your amazing, huge street artwork on the side of a warehouse building. Some of them are 150 feet long by 40, 50 feet high, entire buildings that are done and that also encouraged other businesses to allow someone to paint a big mural on their wall. And then there's a huge amount of unofficial tagging that goes on, of people that are just getting out there in the middle of the night with stencils and making art. There's a Banksy exhibit underway in Miami right now. There's like an official gallery Banksy show going on. So if you only get down there for that, I think you would love walking around down there and seeing, knowing your muralist heart as I do, I think you'd be really excited to see what goes on down there.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. I really don't know very much about Miami, to be honest. I did a dance workshop once with somebody who at the time was from Miami. And it was what she said was just a taste of that Latin American culture, and it sounded really nice.
And it's not just Latin American, right? There's a massive Haitian influence and Jamaican influence. The bodega where we had the after party it's a fancy bodega, and on one side it was all decorated in Jamaican themes, and on the other side it was all decorated in Haitian and Hispanic themes. So, it's as much a cultural melting pot as any city in America. The food's extraordinary. It's a cultural city. And I forget this because I was born where Corey's living now in Hollywood. That's my hometown. And we moved up here when I was 10, but I still had cousins and aunts and uncles. So when we would go and visit, they were like, Miami, the crime, the parking, nobody wanted to go see Miami. But in the 40s and 50s, it was an architectural showplace. Architects came from all over the world to build things in Miami. So, just the art and culture scene in Miami is definitely worth your time. Yeah, it's a cool place.
I'm going to keep that in mind and do some research before actually making a trip and kind of plan things. But it sounds like it's worth doing to not miss anything.
Yeah, you definitely want to go when it's cold where you are, because in the summertime, in August and September in South Florida, you might as well be in Rio de Janeiro. It's so hot. It's really hot. So,
I can only believe it. We were there in the beginning of December, and I kept turning everybody's furnaces off when they weren't looking and wearing shorts. So it was, yeah.
It's cute that you think we have furnaces down here. Most of us just have central air and heat, electric heat.
Well, I've managed to find 2 places with furnaces. Nice. It was surprising. I wasn't expecting a furnace, to be honest, but it's handy when it gets down to iguana dropping temperatures.
Corey thought I was making that up.
I bet.
He did. He thought I was fucking with him when I posted like a warning, a weather service warning. But it's a real thing. Also, the Everglades is overrun with pythons that people have let go as pets, and now there are massive breeding populations of all sorts of shitty invasive species, including pythons, including a whole bunch of species of fish that we shouldn't have in our waters, but we do now. It's a tropical climate, so they thrive.
Pythons take on gators, don't they? Like when they get big enough?
Yeah. But the thing is, they also pythons will raid alligator nests and eat the eggs and the babies. And alligators are not endangered anymore, but they are a native species. So anything that displaces a native species, is not good for Florida.
Not good.
We're especially vulnerable to it because of the warm weather. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
Huh.
we also have a lot of plant species down here that are terrible for native vegetation.
I believe it.
Um, yeah, but if
So
that's like our fifth worst environmental problem,
yeah,
you know,
probably.
yeah,
Well, so then is it legal to hunt pythons?
it is. There's a season for them. There are bounties on them. There's even times when in the Everglades National Park, if you have a permit, you're allowed to hunt them in a national park, which is extremely unusual in our national park system. Never, they never allow hunting of any kind. But don't forget that Everglades National Park is surrounded by Everglades that's not the national park. So there's a lot of agricultural land down there, and outside of the actual national park system. And so, yeah, there's hunting for pythons now is a thing down here.
I'm not sure that I want to go hunting necessarily, but if somebody happened to invite me to like a python barbecue, I'd be down with that.
I don't even know if people eat them. I know that they're hunted and the skins are harvested because they have quite a lot of value. Python skin for making clothing and belts and shoes and things.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
yeah,
would
so
assume that they're eaten. I don't know. My dad got invited to a rattlesnake barbecue in Texas once.
rattlesnake is
So,
not bad. I've eaten rattlesnake,
yeah,
and also alligator. People are often surprised to find out that alligator is outstanding.
I've had alligator. It was delicious. I would
Nice.
definitely eat that again.
See, the,
Yeah.
the 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 normal thing is eating the tail meat, but in redneck culture, like my dad's family, the ribs. Everybody loves to like barbecue the gator ribs. They're very, very good. So
Yeah,
a little
I can
tough,
believe it. Yeah,
a little chewy, but good stuff.
I believe it. Well, that's all absolutely, I don't know, fun. I'm going to start planning a trip and save my
Please, I would.
non-existent
It would
crypto
be so
pennies.
great to get all of us together. I mean,
Yes.
four of the seven are now here. Although Sue's going to be on the road soon, but we're all here, so we should definitely have a get together.
Yes. It just dawned on me. Sue probably doesn't want to give us a ride down to Florida. We're noisy. The whole kids
Numerous
thing.
and noisy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the thing. Zestra says early Florida settlers ate dolphin.
Yep, and manatee as
Probably.
well.
It's probably delicious.
Yep, and
And
manatee as well.
manatee. Hmm. I can't.
Yep.
Manatees are kind of funny looking and cute. I don't know that I'd want to eat one.
Well, they've been endangered and protected for my entire life, so I've never
That
had
too.
the opportunity. But I have family members who, when they were younger, ate manatee. Said it was very much like pork, is what I
Yep.
understand. Yep. So that's all I know about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we
Yes, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you now. Yay!
Okay, perfect.
Welcome.
Were you being quiet all that time just because you weren't sure?
I wasn't sure, and I'm not going to interrupt a good story or conversation as it's going.
Well, thank you.
Like, can you hear me now? Testing, testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
We're
that all
professionals.
sounded good. I was wondering about the conference. You said that there was this percentage of people who had never heard of wax, and yeah, it was eyebrow raising. It was surprising. I was wondering what a lot of people did hear about. I was curious about that.
Lots of folks from the Bitcoin realm and from the Ethereum realm,
Okay.
most of the projects being touted were projects that are in those much bigger spaces,
That makes sense.
which I think that it probably makes the disparity between a shitcoin project and a legit project even bigger than it is in the Wax blockchain. But there was a lot of money being talked about, a lot of big money projects being talked about. That I have no experience of because I live almost exclusively in the Wax blockchain because that's what I know how to do. I really don't have any holdings in other chains. So
Yeah, I absolutely love the free transactions, and I'm just surprised that hasn't caught more people's attention.
right.
That should be huge, especially for a game because there's tons of little transactions all the time.
Yeah, and people were surprised to learn that the number of transactions on Wax is higher than just about any other chain. That for raw transactions, Wax is a very busy space.
It's the most transacted blockchain in the world.
Right.
I think that's just a clear indication that the other blockchains are being held back because of that.
Oh, definitely.
Good point.
Especially
on Ethereum, yes, they're big. They'd probably be way bigger if they didn't have the fees.
Yeah, well, and considering the amount of people who apparently don't know about Wax, for it to still be the most transacted says quite a bit.
Right? Can you imagine if it ever caught on?
Oh, that
Well,
would be so wonderful.
yeah, when.
Yes.
So
So
All right.
I would love to see the people from Wax have a booth at Shitcoin next year.
Yeah.
I was able to explain a few things, but having people there from the actual from Wax would be remarkable. And yeah, but I think Shipple will have a table next year and a sponsorship package so we can get on stage and talk about how all this happened and what's happening next.
I think that would be great. Does that mean that we finally get to put together some Shipple merch?
I mean, we should.
We need
Yeah.
a Shipple shirt at the very least.
Yep, we absolutely do. And I know a guy for that if we don't want to order them online. I know someone local that he printed stuff for both Corey and I for the Baboon Room podcast and for So Local Pasco. So we have a local shirt company that does really nice work. So, and he does it in a shop space. It's not like you order online and they auto print them. He's actually working on an 8-station press in his garage and it's a really nice shop. Yeah.
I'm in. So anytime I want a shirt with something in particular on it, I'm going to get in touch with you to get in touch with your guy.
Beautiful. Yeah. He's on my Facebook friends list. Jimmy Gilliland in his name, and it's T-Rex Apparel is our local guy.
Okay. Yeah, because the Baboon Room shirts, at least I've seen, and they looked good, and it looked like they survived washing quite a few times too.
Yeah, they sure did.
He washes his shirts. I don't know. But,
well, he wears them nonstop. So
yeah, I'm under the impression that things get washed. So yeah.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's just hope he has more than one NASA shirt, is what I'm saying.
Corey and my son both need more than one NASA shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I made the icon for him for the uplift, the skin for him that is him wearing khaki shorts and a NASA t-shirt, because that's what I'm so used to seeing in the real world. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What else we want to talk about?
Well, got a bit of a Shipple Gives update, and the update is we're drowning in paperwork. Not quite drowning, but there is quite a bit of paperwork. It's a process. We met with one of the people at the foundation group yesterday to give some fantastic advice on what kind of nonprofit to form and what kind of work are we doing and which papers do we need to fill out and how we're doing the thing and all of the other things that are happening at the same time. The best way to think about it is you have Grandma in the corner crocheting. Grandma is the government. Grandma's crocheting and she's got 4 different balls of yarn. Then the Shipple cats come in and play with the balls of yarn a little bit. And Grandma keeps crocheting and untangles those knots. So that's kind of where the process is. And it is a process, but we're moving forward. And I confirmed that they're going to let the token Canadians sign as much documentation as possible. So that will also speed things up a little bit because I have zero fear of signing my life away for any purposes related to Shipple. So,
well, were you given an impression that because 4 years ago in 2018, I started a 501c4, which is a political, a political fundraising, not a charity, but it's a nonprofit. And so my question is it more complex because this is in the crypto space? Is there a level of added complexity to starting the 501c3?
It could have been. They did ask some questions about that. And what I was able to reassure them was that, yes, we started out, Shipple is a crypto. It doesn't exactly have a monetary value that is easily measurable. It's more of a social currency, do good deeds, receive Shipple. And they specifically asked if it was currently tied to, if donations would be tied to NFT sales. And at the moment it's not. So that was really straightforward and easy. But we are going to have to kind of watch how that's done going forward. And I suspect that the crypto branch of everything that we're using to generate all the interest in getting donations is going to have to be somehow seen as either separate or as its own donating entity to the charity.
Okay.
So we'll just have to work on making the paperwork for that look like they're separate things.
Got it.
Because otherwise,
wait time. You submit the paperwork and then you wait without hearing about anything.
Yeah.
Right.
We
It
did
took about
get
90 days to get the
once.
Florida 501c4 done, but because
Yeah.
I don't know.
We did get something back from them. We have something called an EIN, whatever that is.
That's
so
good.
We have one of those now.
Right. Well, that means you can begin to do things like, open bank accounts and things like the EIN is what facilitates opening accounts and doing things like that. So that's good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, I knew something.
Yay!
That almost never happens.
So then I wonder, I'm guessing then that our people on the ground in the States will have to be doing that.
Yes.
Because that's where the entity is based. So that's probably not a gen job.
Right.
Because I'd run down to the bank today.
Right.
So.
It looks like most of the people that are with us in the stream are people that we see. We don't have to re-explain Shipple, but the gist of this will be that people can participate in crypto projects that benefit a charity, and the charities that we are going to focus on are, and this is how I was explaining things at the Shitcoin conference in Miami, is we're going to focus on charities that are below the fundraising horizon, like little charities in local communities that we know are on the ground doing good work. That's who we want to focus on, because we think that's where the need is biggest, or at least it's when a freezer breaks at the American Red Cross, it's not a disaster, but when it happens to a charity run by 3 people who are feeding the homeless, it's a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to give them the agency to buy the things they need when they have, and on their own terms when they have a need. And also it allows us to proselytize about the crypto space, about having a wallet, how to use a wallet, so that they can find other things. They can take donations in cryptocurrencies and utilize those funds. So that's kind of where we are as that's our, I don't, is that our plan? Is that our vision? Is that our mission statement? I don't know.
It is. And I made a couple of notes there. You used a couple good phrases, because I always have a hard time explaining it to people. So what are you doing? Well, we're going to support the small local charities. Oh, what do you mean by local? Everybody's local to someone. What do you mean by small? I don't know, like 2 people with 3 freezers feeding the homeless. Oh, are they a registered charity?
CEO and
yeah.
Right. When somebody on the board has 4 different titles, that's a pretty good indicator that they're a small charity.
Yes.
They wear all the hats.
Yes. Well, and I did confirm too how to document the no strings attached donations, because apparently the IRS is quite particular that if you donate to a registered charity, they have to provide you some sort of paperwork saying that it went to a charitable reason, like some sort of they used it for running the charity and not just getting a Tesla for the owner. So,
well, okay, and it may be worth pointing out that the IRS cares about that when the donated funds go from the crypto space to the real fiat economy. So,
yes.
So if people are donating in crypto, and the people at the charity understand how to stake and how to make more out of the crypto that they have, that won't be problematic. And the better they know those tools, the more likely they are to be able to, hey, we could mint NFTs and sell them locally and raise money for the charity. And when that movie moves through the barrier into the real economy is when IRS will want an explanation. But
yes,
that thing about strings attached, for me, it's more about when a charity gets a grant from some community, from a church, let's say, or from some larger organization. Often that grant money has strings attached. In other words, the charity is told you can only use this for housing expenses for clients. You can only use this for married couples with children. You cannot use this money to support gay homeless people, right? They will put strings on the money, and the charity is not just responsible to the IRS. They're responsible to the grant people for what they're allowed to spend that money on. And what we want to do is give them the agency to determine for themselves what's in need. Now, how that squares with the IRS, that's up to them. But as far as, we want no strings attached money to the charity. So if they decide they need a Tesla, That's not our, we might not fund them next year if they decide to buy a Tesla with the money that gets donated, but we want them to have complete freedom to spend that money on things they know they need week to week.
Absolutely. And I 100% support that. So yeah, like I'm thinking about the animal rescue down the street. They had I don't know, I think it was last year in the winter, somebody phoned in and said, I have bats in my attic. And suddenly the animal rescue, which is run out of a house, same size as my house, was overrun with bats.
Oh my.
And they urgently needed funding for all of the things that bats need. So like you can't plan for that. You can't ask for a grant for that in advance. And
another example. Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. You weren't done. Okay. Another example is whether they should or not, a lot of people donate old clothing to homeless charities. Frankly, that's not what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to buy a package of new t-shirts, a 12-pack of socks, and donate those to it. But people donate clothing, especially here where we're warm 11 and a half months of the year. But there are weeks at a time where homeless people need jackets and coats because it does get, below freezing here. And in that circumstance, when clothing is donated, all of the I guess the three groups that I know that donate that clothing to the homeless, they have to wash it, they have to clean it. And if you're running a charity out of your house and you're using your own washer and dryer to do that, wear and tear is above what you would normally be experiencing. And if your washing machine breaks, we want them to be able to get a washing machine just for the charitable donated clothing, right? So that it's not intermixed, that they can do things, again, just giving charities as much agency and self-determination with their funds as we can. That's kind of what we want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe they need a van to transport food to the homeless. That's exactly right. Wear and tear on the vehicle that's doing the work.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But what I can tell you about Hands of the Goddess, the charity that we first featured here, they pay for all of that. They don't take any donations that come into them go directly back out 100%. They pay their own upkeep on the things that take wear and tear. They won't spend charitable money for a freezer. They buy the freezer and give it to the charity. And that's one of the reasons that I'm very excited about helping them.
Absolutely. I've been hanging out, just friending them on Facebook and watching all the things that they're doing. And it's incredible. They are wonderful people.
Yeah, not bad.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, you did an interview with them.
Yeah.
So that was nice. They seemed like really, really great people. Very genuine. They definitely don't have a private jet in the backyard.
No, they do not.
They're pouring everything they've got into helping other people.
Yeah, Randy's got a pretty good pension. He was a career union plumber, so when he retired, he owns his house free and clear. And Kira's a published author. She doesn't make much money, but she sells a lot of self-published works of fiction. They have a series. She has a series of books about a rabbit named Rupert, who grows up in a pagan faith family, and it's about how to cope as a child with people from other faiths. The books are designed to normalize, a pagan spiritual view of the world to others and to kids growing up in that environment who kind of have to explain when everybody else is drawing pictures of Jesus at Easter. That's not what they celebrate. In the same way that Jewish kids kind of have to compensate when they're doing those kind of holiday assignments. So she's really special.
You don't celebrate Christmas, everybody notices, and then
yes,
so.
Right. And we have lots of Jewish friends who grew up in environments where it was less than comfortable at Christmas time. So the idea that she spent a lot of effort writing books to normalize growing up in a pagan household for children, that's good stuff. That's
Absolutely.
good stuff.
Yeah, I've actually read one of them, and they're good. They're books I wish I'd had as a kid.
Right. Yeah. And I'm super glad that she's distributing those books to families, and I meet young people all the time who read those 10 years ago when they were 9, 10 years old, 12 years old, and it really helped them to find their place in the world. So, and that's like this whole other part of who Randy and Kira are. Aside from the charity, they're just cool people.
Well, I think too about her books, Rupert's Tales. They may have a focus on growing up in a pagan household, but the messages in them transfer.
Right.
So they are by no means secular in that sense. They're sectioned, I guess, not secular. They would be very much universal themes in a lot of ways.
Well, let's just say you're a Catholic family and your child makes friends with a pagan child. Reading those books would be a good way to help the child understand that there are people of different faiths that are all still good people. Even the current Pope says atheists will get into heaven if they do good works. That's a thing I never expected to hear, but here we are.
I didn't expect that.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm down with that. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm happy to step in and do this all the time. I have lots of free time now.
Good, let's do it.
Yeah. Building a squirrel and crow army in my backyard by feeding them peanuts all the time.
That's delightful.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on the back patio just watching my army prosper.
That's absolutely delightful. I don't know if I think I've seen a squirrel around here once, but we have a ton of different birds, so that's something to watch for. We usually get migratory birds.
Right.
They were all late. Like we got a bunch in the middle of winter. It was really weird.
It's because it's warmer. They're moving northward. They could stay longer in a place.
I guess, yeah, because it wasn't as cold this winter.
Here either.
Yeah.
and that's problematic. I talk to people. Oh, it's so cool. It's so awesome. The weather gets warm sooner. I'm like, this is Florida. We're surrounded by warm ocean water, which is what breeds and strengthens hurricanes. So please be careful what you wish for. We don't want to be warmer here because, that's not good.
Kind of where I'm leaning. Although I have to admit, the difference between -50 and -30 seems like it should be somehow less environmentally significant. It probably still is.
Right.
But
right. It's still damn cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think it hasn't been noticeably hotter, but it's been hot for longer periods of time. Like we used to have whole weeks here where we would have lows in the 30s, and that seems warm to you guys. But for here, we used to have that all the time. Now we'll have one day in the 30s, and then it'll begin to warm up immediately. So our warming isn't the upper temperatures getting higher, although I'm sure that will happen. But what's happening now is just our periods of cool weather are shorter and less drastic than they used to be. So
yeah, that's the thing. We haven't experienced anything patternish like around here. We had a rainy year, and we had a drought, and we had a year where -50 lasted from January to May.
Gah.
That was last year.
Insanely cold.
That was last year was a lesson in why won't the car start? What did they do in Yellowknife?
Right.
So, but yeah, it hasn't been, nothing's been consistently anything in the time that we've lived here. So,
well, people tend to forget that global warming doesn't just mean everywhere gets warm. There are some places that will have colder weather because it's a giant climatic pattern shift, not just your individual town's temperatures. So
exactly.
But there's so much talk from people about you have to do something for global warming. We have to change this. Humanity has to do something. But that's assuming that we actually can. The idea that any species has the ability to change the temperature on their entire planet, like it's the thermostat, we might not have that ability. And it kind of doesn't look like we do. But if we do, how do we get 8 billion, probably 9 or 10 by that point? How do we get them to all decide on a temperature?
Right.
Because
on a goal.
Like if you've ever walked into different people's homes, it's a little bit off, like by half a degree or a degree. And you can't just change it. They'll feel it. They'll get cranky.
Right. Well, I just finished I have a friend that loaned me a really good book, of all people, by Bill Gates, called How to Avert a Climate Catastrophe. And he lays out, that a 2 degree rise in temperature that we've been talking about now for a couple of decades that's the red line. And we're pretty much inevitably going to bust that. But he talks about the big structural things that need to change. And some of them are obvious, but some of them are actually really surprising. Like one of the biggest offenders in the world is concrete. The process of creating concrete is a huge contributor to CO2 in the atmosphere. And so the problem is that we could probably find a way around that as, you know, the US economy, or let's say the EU economy. But for developing countries who are just now beginning to get their economic stride, telling them all of a sudden, nope, concrete's off the table, you can't use that anymore, would be debilitating to them. And are we really in a moral position to tell these emerging states what they can and can't do? Right. So you know, we could cripple their economy very quickly that way. And that's not what we want to do. So he talks about businesses, big businesses and industries, and he talks about government and our personal stake. Like there's three like silos of activity that have to happen. And I'll tell you, I'm old enough to remember when the hole in the ozone layer crisis happened. And I kind of have this feeling, the thing about human beings as individuals, as families, as cultures, is that we won't change something till it's painful. And, you know, mostly that pain is the motivator for changing how we do things. When a system of government causes enough pain, we come up with something new. And the same thing is true in this. Like when the ozone layer was identified, it was going to get bigger and bigger, and everybody was going to fry and get cancer. But within 10 years, we had legislatively and industrially changed what was contributing to the hole in the ozone, and it's just about gone now. That's a problem that we fixed on the fly in a crisis that was killing people. So I kind of feel like we're in that moment with climate change. I am sure there are industrial scientists and engineers right now that know how we get past concrete, that know how we get past refrigerants that cause global warming, that know how we move into renewable energy sources. It's just getting them to be recognized and implemented. And that usually happens through laws and legislative process, you know, and regulatory frameworks. So I hate to say that it may take 1 million or 2 million people to die directly from climate change for us to change it. But that's where I disagree with you, Russ. I think we will change it. There just has to be enough pain that people demand.
Yeah. Well, so, that might be the case. It's just really, really sad.
And we tend to invent the technology to change something major like that when shit gets deep enough. So, you know, weather satellites to predict where hurricanes were going to go. That's until hundreds and thousands of people died in Galveston and in the Everglades here in Florida in the 1920s. You know, satellites didn't come on for another 30 years. But what did happen is ships that were out, you know, anchored ships were out reading the weather and radioing what was happening 100 miles offshore. By 1930, that was happening because of those two huge loss of life events in Texas and here in Florida. So again, I think that, you know, we'll have to experience some pain around it, but I think I'm a little more optimistic that we'll solve this.
I'm certainly curious to see how it all goes. I have a lot of curiosity. Seeing
as a person that lives at 4 feet above sea level, I'm very invested in fixing this problem.
Extremely, yes. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting, and you're right, it'll get worse before it gets better. The pandemic has certainly shown that science can move at an extremely rapid pace when motivated by death.
And people will protest, perhaps even violently, against their
They'll be injecting global warming into their butts is what'll happen.
Likely, yeah, that's the thing.
I hear ivermectin cures global warming, so
yeah.
All right, so we do. So what we do is we reduce our footprint, right? But we do as much good as we can in the little footprint that we leave, right? And that's, you know, it's not directly related, but that's a place where I think crypto projects and NFT projects can actually do some good. The guys in Cyprus that are starting the self-sustaining olive farm, you know, I bought those NFTs because I think that's a really great idea. And if they show how other farming endeavors can do that, then we've done some good in the world. And I don't care if I never get any money back for those NFTs. It did a good thing in the world. I'm happy to have spent the money for that.
Exactly. And it was on Wax. Wax is carbon neutral. Yep. In fact, Wax is offsetting all of the blockchains as far as I know. So
yeah. And people are still making that stupid argument about that crypto is terrible for the environment. I'm like, well, that was true 8 years ago. Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this. It's rapidly changing. It doesn't require government regulation to change. It changes because people know that this is a thing they want to change.
Yeah.
And I think that's the advantage of crypto projects and this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else we got?
I don't know. Are we racing tonight?
We are racing tonight.
I think we should race tonight.
Yep. There's a race tonight in Shippletopia.
That'll be fun. Death race. Bring your arrows. Well, don't bring them. Get them there. What stays in Shippletopia, no, what happens in Shippletopia stays in Shippletopia because you can't take it with you.
Yeah. See, we should all have lockers in Shippletopia like they do at Disneyland. So you can, get a locker near the front of the park, and when you go in, you can get your stuff out. And
yes.
Kind of like that, an assigned chest for
right.
people. Yeah.
Right. I like
There'd
it.
be a way to do that. That would be good practice for nested regions.
Whole other thought. Yeah, that'd be something like nested regions, and that could be kind of interesting, actually.
You give somebody a 1 block space that they can put a chest on. They own one square meter of
nested region.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh.
I love that this is what happens. We have an idea, then we start thinking about how could Minecraft do this? How could Uplift do this? It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat stuff.
How does that work?
Where are we on nested regions? Do you know, Jen, or do you have a Thune?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Part of it is ownership and how a nested region would work in terms of ownership of the overall, the overarching region's NFT. So that's a discussion. Do they sell together? Do they sell as parts? How does that work? And probably just the script of linking the region to the NFT and making sure that we're getting the right one. And do we have to have the main region linked as well as the micro region or not? Or how does so
the interface could be something like setting up shops. That would be nice. Where
yes.
we go up to the shop and we type in a little command for that block.
Yeah.
That shop chest block. And just do this.
And we made that commitment in Chicken Ka last year before we knew how difficult this would be. This seemed like a pretty straightforward thing to give people shops in the transport hub when we built it, but turns out
it's not impossible. It just has, and it's mostly in terms of things like actual ownership, who owns the overarching space and who owns the small space. It ends up being almost more of an ethical question or a moral question than anything. Like if I own the transport hub and you own a shop in the hub and I sell my transport hub, do you still keep your shop? Does the new owner know you exist? So
evictions in the Uplift.
Well, so we're inventing condominiums is what we're doing. It's just airspace. It's just a block of air.
So that's going to be something that it's a very good project for the DAO, incidentally.
Right.
So that's going to be something to get on and get moving.
I'm going to have a crash course in DAO. I really don't understand it to the depth that I feel like I should at this point. But I'm excited because we're all going to get some participatory input from the people. And that's
absolutely. Cool. Yeah, we should figure out how the CK7 is going to DAO, because we should have some sort of a role in there as a group doing a thing.
Well, if I understand how the Uplift is structuring things, yes, the community will have an ownership stake, but it won't be a controlling stake. In other words, they can be outvoted by the Uplift, itself, right? So I think CK would have to do something similar to make sure that people have input and we know what the direction is that the community wants to go, but we are also things that can't be done. So we'll have to, be the brakes on some pretty radical ideas, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we could also have, like if we operate CK7 as a committee influenced by the community, then we just have to set up a place for the community to vote.
We even talked about maybe identifying some community members to sit in and, have like a half vote place on the CK7 decision-making process. Although funny enough, we're pretty casual. Like when we make decisions, we tend to be unanimous or deferential. If Donna has a great idea, we all go, that's a great idea. We're making decisions not by any kind of formal vote process most of the time. And it'll be interesting to see how that would shake out into a more formal structure.
That's
not a problem. It can be done.
That's very true of the Uplift team too. We don't always agree on everything. In fact, most of the time we don't agree on everything, but we come out of the discussion with a united plan.
And you feel heard, right? That's the good thing. Yeah.
And there usually isn't an actual vote on things. We just talk around it until we get to something that works.
Right.
So
there we go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Oh, Zestra's asking, will the CK7 ever get their hub NFT, their transport hub NFT? That's a good question.
That's a good question. I think the issue with that was overlapping regions, because there's part of the hub that overlaps with a couple of the rail plots on 2 or 3 of the sides.
Okay, but Donna and I own all of those rail plots, so we'd be happy to negotiate. You know what I mean? Like there's 3 of us that own all the rail plots that intersect the hub, so we'd be happy to negotiate some sort of workaround for that.
It might even be just as simple as shrinking the hub region slightly, like because it's only by 1 or 2 blocks, so it's not. So I don't know exactly how that would go, but it seems to me too. When I looked at it, there was something about a nested region there that was weird as well. Like it was weird. So that needs to go on the list of things we need to address.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Which is not about Shipple, but it's very much related. It's the world we live in. So yeah. That's just Greg, Donna, and Sue. The 3 of us own all of the rail plots right around the hub, and there's a buffer before there's any owned plots where we have the sidewalks and all that stuff. So
there's wiggle room for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes it all reasonable. Yeah, I think the overlapping region was the one for the city center there overlapped a little bit with part of the hub too. So that all has to get sorted. That might even be something I can do. I should find out.
Right on.
Because that would be useful.
And also, just so people know, we are intent on having a land sale before too long. We wanted to give the team plenty of time and space to work out the auction thing, but we'll be having a chicken cost sale before too long. We just have to decide what we want to sell. Do we want to develop a new city? Do we want to just sell the 25s that are in the Maya quarter?
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, we'll just kind of sell those out and have a little sale and
create a town. That city built up a little.
Yeah, that'd be neat. I'd love to see somebody put up some tall buildings in that region as well, so it looks a little denser.
Yeah, anyway, I like that plan.
That's future.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We good to go? I'm ready for some lunch, man. I ran out and did some errands and thought I was coming back to have lunch and got a link to the Shipple show. So
I'll try to be more organized next time.
Oh, hey, no, we talked about it yesterday, so it's not like I should have forgotten it that quickly. But
yeah, I was a couple minutes late because I forgot.
I was here preparing for something completely different. Like, what's that notification? Oh, there's a show.
Yeah, I even had to ask what time when I got the link. I wasn't sure if we were doing it at noon or what. So,
yep.
So I've grumpy old man hungry syndrome, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you should. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Race tonight, Shippletopia, 10 o'clock Eastern. Be there or be square,
or be a circle.
Yeah.
Or be a rhomboid. Everybody rhomboid.
I think it's
this is the rhomba, not the rhomboid. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
We out of
All
here?
right. Bye.